I don't know if I've ever specifically asked you where does the idea for Robot Pulp come from?
Um, one year, I had already bought my table for Planet Comic Con, and it was coming around January, and I had nothing. I wanted to have something new for Planet Comic Con, and I was like, I didn't know what I wanted to make, a short comic or something or whatever. And then my friend Alex Madej suggested, he goes, "You already been drawing like these robot pictures. Why don't you just make an art book full of robot pictures and just sell that?" And I was like, okay. And so I posted like the first two, and then another friend of mine that used to live here, Cliff Robinson, and he lives out in, I think, Oregon or Seattle or something like that. And he superimposed the Amazing Stories titling on there
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, and once I saw it, I could not unsee it.
Yeah.
And I just ran with it, and it triggered something in me because it made me remember how much, I really don't love comic book art like a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up, it wasn't the comic book art that drew me to art. It was all the painting of the covers. And so I delved into that and went to Pinterest, and I just was in heaven because of all the pulp covers and old sci-fi magazines. And I just ran with it. And I got the idea to just, why don't you, if it's going to look old, if you're going to make it look old and put the title and stuff on there, to just do that and make it, might as well just stress it, make it look old too. And so I started doing that. And then I also wanted to make a fake magazine title or something that no one had used before. And so I just thought. And then I was like, what about Robot Pulp? It's like, it's going to be all robots. And so you just have everything's about robots. It's all sci-fi anyway. So about Robot and Pulp. And I Googled it, and no one had used that title at all. So because I wanted something that was original.
Yeah.
And so I just went from there.
Do you remember which was the first print that you did? What's like the actual first Robot Pulp
I think
picture?
it was Sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer.
You talk about the first one I did with the inks, because I do the inks, and it was inks and ink wash at first, and then I would take that and then I digitally color it, and then I do the graphic design and all that stuff, and then I distress it. So I think the first one was Sledgehammer was the first one I did.
That was the first one that got like the full process.
Mm-hmm. It was it was the first one also drawn.
So when you come up with these images, when you do the pictures and do the covers, do you have like a whole story in your head for who the characters are, or is it just like some more than others?
Of course, when I'm drawing it, you start thinking about their character and their background, and like, oh, this would be a great story, and blah blah. And you already have the story as you're inking it and drawing it, and painting it. I'm still thinking about the story and the. I'm like, man, it'd be cool if he did this, or this would be a cool scene to have this guy in, or something,
How do you feel about me coming in and writing new stories based off of your pictures and possibly distorting them beyond your original vision?
No, I'm flattered that somebody else would actually want to write stories about the image I just drew. And if you know, we've had a few other people ask if they could write stories too. If you notice that.
I was gonna make mention of that when you posted the redone cover of Big Game Hunter, the new version of it.
Oh, Bob France.
Yeah, Bob France. He commented.
I know
he commented and said, "I want to write the story for this." And I got in there real quick and was like, too slow, bro.
You're like, no, it's mine.
I got this first.
Back off, bitch. He's mine.
Do you have a favorite print that you've done, or a favorite like robot character?
I do have one. It's the robot's name, Love Machine.
You've told me that one several times.
Yeah, it's not a porn name. I just was drawing it one day, and I just thought that this murderous robot would actually have the name Love Machine as an irony kind of thing, I guess. Yeah. And I just thought it stuck, and he's got the bullet head kind of thing, and I think he's got a jaw, and then he's got the eyes that kind of like that pop out a little bit. They're circle eyes, but and then on his face is painted a skull. And I love drawing him, and he is just, I got to figure out the rest of his body and the rest of the mechanics about it, but literally. And the arms and the legs and the rest of the design for the body, but the head I have nailed down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'd like to do maybe some small comic short stories with him in it, stuff like heavy metal wise or something. That'd be pretty awesome, I think. And
Well,
then,
you've put Love Machine in a few prints, right? Like he's
yeah, I think it,
or like
he was
prototype versions of him.
yeah, he wasn't named Love Machine at the time. Like and also the other one, he keeps coming back. I have Big Trouble from Planet X is where I first drew the one with it looked cool.
Yeah.
And I have Return from Planet X,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of my favorites. And I think, is there another one in there? There might be. Oh, the Cowboys and Robots one.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that one up. That
one. It's got him, and I think also the Martian mechanic have some other. This is before I named him and got his head and I got the body style down, and they were. I think they had some skull and crossbones on them as well. Okay. So he has like the skull up here, and then he has the crossbones on his chest.
Oh yeah, okay.